The stars were quiet that morning when Captain Hyunwoo stepped onto the bridge of his ship. The Harmony's Edge was not the biggest ship in Earth's fleet, but it was fast and smart. Hyunwoo had been flying through space for 15 years, and he knew when something was wrong. Today felt different. The silence in space seemed too deep. Sujin looked up from her station where green lights danced across her screen. She was the best tactical officer Hyunwoo had ever worked with. Her dark eyes were sharp and missed nothing. "Captain, we are getting strange signals from the outer systems," she said. Her voice was calm, but Hyunwoo heard the worry underneath. "What kind of signals?" Hyunwoo asked as he sat in his command chair. The leather was worn from years of use, but it felt like home. "Distress calls, sir. Lots of them." But they all cut off suddenly. Tae-ho spun around from his engineering station. Sweat covered his forehead even though the ship was cool. He had been working on the engines all night. "Captain, I am picking up energy readings I have never seen before. Whatever is out there, it is big. Really big." Yoonbi at the communications desk pulled off her headset. Her face was pale. "Sir, I just lost contact with 3 colony ships. They were reporting normal status and then nothing. Complete silence." Hyunwoo felt ice form in his stomach. In space, silence meant death. He stood up and walked to the main view screen. Stars filled the darkness ahead of them. Everything looked normal, but he knew it was not. "Take us to the last known position of the colony ships," he ordered. "Full scan mode. I want to know everything that happened out there." The Harmony's Edge turned and jumped into hyperspace. The stars became long white lines as they traveled faster than light. Inside the ship, the crew worked quietly. Everyone could feel the tension building. When they dropped back into normal space, Hyunwoo gasped. Where 3 colony ships should have been floating, there was nothing, not even debris. Just empty space and a strange shimmer like heat waves rising from hot ground. "Sujin report," Hyunwoo said. "Scanning now, sir." Her fingers moved fast over her controls. "I am detecting residual energy patterns. Something was here. Something that used weapons I do not recognize." "How long ago?" "Maybe 6 hours, sir." "The energy is still fresh," Tae-ho called out from his station. "Captain, I am reading massive gravitational distortions coming from the edge of the system. Whatever did this is still here." Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. "Put it on screen." The view screen flickered and then showed something that made everyone on the bridge go silent. A ship was moving toward them. But calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. It was enormous. The hull looked like it was made from pieces of dead planets welded together. Spikes and cannons covered every surface. It moved through space like a predator hunting prey. "My God," Yoonbi whispered. "How big is that thing?" Sujin checked her readings twice before answering. "It is 20 kilometers long, maybe more. And Captain, there are smaller ships around it. Hundreds of them." The massive ship had friends. Hyunwoo could see them now. Ships with hulls that looked like they were grown instead of built. Some had organic curves, while others were all sharp angles like crystals. They moved in perfect formation around their giant leader. "Are they scanning us?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes, sir. Very deep scans. They know we are here." A new voice filled the bridge. It came through their communication system, but it sounded like no human voice. It was deep and rough like grinding stone. When it spoke, Hyunwoo felt fear crawl up his spine. "Small ship from the soft world, you have witnessed the power of the Deathworld Alliance. Your colonies fed our ships well. Their metal now strengthens our hulls. Their people now serve our cause." Hyunwoo grabbed the communication microphone. "This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Earthship Harmony's Edge. You have attacked peaceful colonies." Why laughter like breaking glass came through the speakers. "Why does the strong hunt the weak? Why does fire burn? We are the children of worlds that tried to kill us every day. We survived. We grew strong. Now we take what we need from those too weak to stop us." The massive ship moved closer. Hyunwoo could see details on its hull now. What he had thought were metal plates were actually pieces of other ships, colony ships, military vessels, even space stations, all fused together into one terrible weapon. "We are the Korthak," the voice continued. Our world burns with lava and poison gas. It made us strong. We are the Vextai. Our world is ice and cutting wind. It made us sharp. We are the Deathworld Alliance, and we have come to harvest the galaxy. Su Jin looked at her captain with wide eyes. Sir, they are charging weapons. All of them. Hyunwoo had to make a choice. Fight and die here, or run and warn Earth. There was no real choice at all. Tae-ho, give me everything the engines have. Yunbi. Send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them the Deathworld Alliance is coming and they are hungry. The Harmony's Edge spun around and jumped to hyperspace, just as energy beams filled the space where they had been. The ship shook as some of the weapons grazed their shields, but they escaped. Behind them, the massive fleet of the Deathworld Alliance continued its slow advance toward the core worlds. The giant ship called Worldbreaker led them forward. Its commander, General Korthak Vexmorth, stood on his bridge looking at the stars ahead. His reptilian eyes glowed with hunger. Let the soft worlds prepare, he said to his crew. Let them build their defenses and call their allies. It will not matter. We have eaten civilizations older than theirs. We will add their strength to our own. The galaxy will learn what happens when the children of death come calling. The Alliance moved on through space. Behind them, 15 star systems lay empty and cold. Ahead lay thousands more filled with life and resources waiting to be harvested. The greatest war in galactic history was about to begin, and Earth did not even know it yet. The emergency alarm rang through Earth Command like a scream in the night. Admiral Jin'e ran down the metal corridors as officers rushed past her carrying data tablets and weapon reports. Her boots clicked against the floor as she headed to the main command center. The message from Captain Hyunwoo had arrived 20 minutes ago, and already the entire galaxy was in panic. Show me the recording again, Jin'e said as she entered the command room. The main screen lit up with Hyunwoo's face. He looked tired and scared. Behind him, she could see his crew working at their stations with quick, desperate movements. Admiral, this is Captain Hyunwoo reporting emergency contact with hostile alien fleet. They call themselves the Deathworld Alliance. They have destroyed at least 15 colony systems. Their flagship is 20 kilometers long and carries hundreds of escort vessels. They are heading toward the core worlds. Earth is in their path. Siam. Recording ended and the room fell silent. Admiral Jin'e looked around at her staff. Some were young officers who had never seen real war. Others were veterans who remembered the colony rebellions. All of them looked afraid. Get me the Galactic Council, Jin'e ordered. Emergency session. Tell them we have a code red situation. Within hours, representatives from 12 species gathered in the council chamber. The Altarians came with their crystal ships shining like diamonds. The Cetaceans arrived in their water-filled vessels that looked like floating oceans. The Draknari brought their warrior fleets bristling with weapons. Jin'e stood at the center podium and played Hyunwoo's message. When it finished, the chamber erupted in noise. The Altarian ambassador's voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. This alliance you speak of. We have heard whispers from the outer rim, ships that eat other ships, worlds that go dark. The Cetacean representative spoke through her translation device. Her words came out as whale song turned into human speech. Our deep scouts reported strange energy signatures 3 months ago. We thought it was solar activity. Now we know better. But it was the Draknari general who spoke the words everyone feared. His voice was rough and battle-hardened. My people have fought in 1,000 wars. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. But this alliance you describe, they are not conquerors. They are devourers. There is no negotiating with hunger itself. One by one, Earth's allies began to pull back. The Altarians recalled their crystal fleets to defend their homeworld. The Cetaceans retreated to their deepest ocean worlds. Even the proud Draknari spoke of strategic withdrawal to more defensible positions. Admiral Jin'e watched her alliance crumble in real time. So Earth stands alone, she said quietly. Not alone, said a new voice. Commander Dong-hyun stepped forward from the back of the chamber. He was the leader of Earth's special operations and his face was covered in scars from a dozen covert missions. Give me a small team and I will go see what we are really facing. We need to know how they fight. Jin-A nodded. Take whoever you need, but be careful, Dong-hyun. Come back alive. 2 days later, Dong-hyun's stealth ship dropped out of hyperspace near a recently conquered world. The planet had been called New Haven before the Alliance arrived. Now it was just another feeding ground. Dong-hyun brought his best people with him. Ye-jin was the finest sniper in the human military. She could hit a target from 3 kilometers away. Woo-bin was an explosives expert who could turn anything into a bomb. They landed on the dark side of the planet and made their way toward what had been the main city. The buildings were still there, but they looked different. Metal growths covered the walls like cancer. The streets were filled with strange machines that moved with organic motions. What are those things? Ye-jin whispered as she watched through her scope. Dong-hyun studied the creatures moving through the ruined city. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but their skin was covered in metal plates. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. I think they used to be colonists, he said. The Alliance changed them. They spent 3 days watching and learning. The Alliance did not just conquer worlds. They transformed them. They took the strongest survivors and changed them into new soldiers. They stripped the planets of all useful materials and fed them into their shipbuilding machines. Everything became part of the growing fleet. But Woo-bin noticed something important. Commander, look at how they coordinate their movements. All those ships in orbit are connected somehow. They move as one mind. Back on Earth, scientist Min-ho worked day and night in his laboratory. His research partner Hae-young brought him coffee and data reports as he studied the energy readings from Hyun-woo's encounter. She was brilliant with quantum physics and saw patterns others missed. The Alliance ships are linked, Min-ho said as he pointed to the data screens. Look at these quantum signatures. Every ship in their fleet is connected through subspace entanglement. They share information instantly across any distance. Hae-young leaned over his shoulder to study the readings. That explains how they coordinate so perfectly. But Min-ho, if they are all connected, then maybe we can use that against them. What do you mean? If we could overload their network somehow. Send a virus through the quantum links. It might crash their entire fleet at once. Min-ho's eyes went wide. But we would need to access their core ship, the one that controls all the others. The World Breaker, Hae-young said quietly. Meanwhile, Admiral Jinny received more bad news every hour. The Alliance fleet had been spotted at the edge of human space. They were moving slowly but steadily toward Earth. Intelligence estimated they had less than 2 weeks before the enemy arrived. She called a meeting of Earth's military leaders. We cannot outrun them. We cannot hide from them. Our allies have abandoned us. So we fight. General Park stood up from the conference table. He was old, but his mind was still sharp. Admiral, we have maybe 300 ships. They have thousands. This is not a battle. This is suicide. Then we die fighting. Jin-A replied. We make them pay for every kilometer of space. We show the galaxy that humans do not go quietly into the dark. Captain Hyun-woo's voice came through the communication system. He was still in space monitoring the Alliance advance. Admiral, they just destroyed another system. The Kepler colonies are gone. They are not even slowing down to harvest the resources anymore. They are just clearing the path to Earth. Jin-A closed her eyes and made the hardest decision of her life. All ships return to Earth immediately. Every vessel, every defense platform, every weapon we have. We make our stand at the Terran defense line. The word spread across human space like wildfire. Earth was calling her children home for the final battle. Ships came from mining colonies and trading posts. Military vessels abandoned their patrol routes. Even civilian transports were armed with whatever weapons could be found. The Deathworld Alliance kept coming through the darkness of space. Their hunger was endless, and their power seemed impossible to stop. But they had never faced a species that would choose death over surrender. Earth was about to show them what happens when you threaten the homeworld of humanity. The Deathworld Alliance arrived at the edge of human space like a storm made of metal and death. Admiral Jin-A stood on the bridge of her flagship watching the enemy fleet approach on the main screen. The numbers made her heart sink. Her intelligence. Reports had been wrong. The Alliance did not have thousands of ships. They had hundreds of thousands. The Worldbreaker led them forward through the darkness. It had grown even larger since Captain Hyunwoo first saw it. Now it was the size of a small moon with the hulls of dead ships covering its surface like armor. Weapons that could crack planets stuck out from every angle. Behind it came wave after wave of smaller ships, but even the smallest was bigger than Earth's largest battleship. "My God," whispered Captain Sang-woo from his position at the tactical station. "How are we supposed to fight that?" Jin-ae did not answer. There was no answer. She had gathered every ship Earth could find. 347 vessels floated in formation around Earth's moon. Destroyers and cruisers and fighters, and even converted mining ships with weapons welded to their hulls. It was the entire strength of humanity, and it looked like nothing compared to what was coming. The communication system crackled to life. The voice of General Korthak Vexmorth filled the bridge. It was the same grinding stone voice that had spoken to Hyunwoo, but now it carried the weight of absolute victory. "Soft-world creatures who call themselves human. You have seen our power. You know you cannot win. Surrender now and we will make your death quick. Your ships will strengthen our fleet. Your people will serve our cause. This is the only mercy we offer." Jin-ae stepped forward and activated the communication array. Her voice carried to every ship in the human fleet and out to the Alliance Armada. "This is Admiral Jin-ae of the Terran Defense Force. We have a message for you, General. Go to hell." The response was immediate. Energy beams brighter than stars lanced out from the Alliance fleet. The first wave of human ships met them head-on. Captain Sang-woo commanded the heavy cruiser Soul's Pride and led the charge. His ship fired everything it had at the nearest Alliance vessel. The enemy ship was damaged but kept fighting. "All ships attack Formation Delta," Jin-ae ordered. "Make them pay for every meter of space." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships fought with desperate courage against impossible odds. Commander Na Young led 3 squadrons of fighters in a suicide run against an Alliance battleship. Her pilots knew they would not survive, but they flew anyway. Their sacrifice destroyed the enemy ship, but cost 60 human lives. Captain Jae-hyun's destroyer was badly damaged and losing atmosphere. His crew was evacuating to escape pods when he saw an Alliance cruiser lining up to fire on a group of human refugees. Without hesitation, he turned his ship around and rammed it directly into the enemy vessel. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness. But for every Alliance ship the humans destroyed, 10 more took its place. The enemy adapted to every human tactic. When the humans used stealth, the Alliance developed new sensors. When the humans used speed, the Alliance created faster ships. It was as if the entire enemy fleet was learning and evolving in real time. "Admiral, we have lost 60% of our fleet," reported Captain Sang-woo. His voice was calm, but Jin-ae could hear the exhaustion underneath. "The enemy is barely scratched." The Worldbreaker moved closer to Earth. Its massive weapons were charging with energy that made the space around it shimmer like heat waves. Jin-ae knew what those weapons could do. They had seen the reports from the destroyed colonies. The Alliance flagship could crack a planet in half with a single shot. "All remaining ships fall back to Earth orbit," Jin-ae commanded. "Activate all planetary defense systems. We make our final stand here." The surviving human ships limped back toward their homeworld. Less than 100 vessels remained out of the original fleet. They were battered and broken, but they still fought. Earth's defense platforms opened fire as the Alliance ships came within range. Missiles and energy beams filled the space between the two fleets. Pilot So Young was flying one of the last fighter squadrons when she saw her chance. A group of Alliance ships had formed up to protect their flagship. She led her remaining pilots. In a desperate attack run, they dove between the enemy ships, firing everything they had. So Young's fighter was hit by enemy fire, but she kept flying. Her last missile struck the bridge of an Alliance battleship before her ship exploded. The Worldbreaker reached Earth orbit. Its massive bulk blocked out the sun as it positioned itself above the planet. General Korthak Vexmorth stood on his bridge looking down at the blue and green world below. His reptilian eyes glowed with satisfaction. "Charge the planet killer weapons," he ordered. "It is time to end this." On Earth, Admiral Jin-A watched the enemy flagship prepare to destroy her world. She had one last card to play, a desperate plan that would either save humanity or destroy everything they had built. "Activate Protocol Omega," she said quietly. Around the room, her staff looked at her with shock. Protocol Omega was the most classified secret in human space. It was a plan so desperate that it had never been tested. It would turn Earth's own moon into a massive kinetic weapon. "Admiral," said Captain Sang-Woo, "if we do this, there is no going back. The moon will be destroyed. The tides will change. Earth will never be the same." "If we don't do this, there will be no Earth at all," Jin-A replied. "Someone needs to manually guide the moon to target. It's a one-way mission." Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through the communication system. He was still alive aboard the Harmony's Edge, somehow fighting in the chaos of the battle. "Admiral, you volunteer. My ship is fast enough to reach the moon's control center. My crew knows the plan." Jin-A closed her eyes. She was asking good people to die for a plan that might not even work. But it was the only chance they had. "Approved, Captain." Godspeed. The Harmony's Edge broke away from the main battle and headed for Earth's moon. Behind them, the Worldbreaker's weapons reached full charge. The planet killer beams could fire at any moment. Everything now depended on whether a small human ship could reach the moon in time. The fate of Earth hung in the balance as the greatest weapon in human history prepared to fire not at the enemy, but at the moon itself. The Harmony's Edge raced through space toward Earth's moon as enemy ships closed in from all sides. Captain Hyunwoo gripped his command chair as laser fire lit up the darkness around them. His small crew worked with desperate efficiency, knowing that the fate of their world depended on reaching the hidden control center. "Taeho, how are the engines holding up?" Hyunwoo called out over the sound of weapons fire hitting their shields. The engineer's face was covered in sweat as he worked at his station. "Captain, I am pushing them past the safety limits. We have maybe 10 minutes before they burn out completely." Soo-Jin looked up from her tactical display. Her hands moved quickly over the controls as she tried to plot a course through the enemy ships. "Sir, we have Alliance fighters on our tail. They are gaining fast. Yoonbi, can you jam their targeting systems?" Hyunwoo asked. The communications officer nodded and began working her electronic warfare equipment. "Buying us some time, Captain, but they will break through soon." The moon grew larger ahead of them. It looked the same as always, but Hyunwoo knew that deep inside its rocky surface lay humanity's most desperate weapon. Protocol Omega had been planned in secret for 20 years. If Earth was ever faced with total destruction, they would turn their own moon into the biggest bullet in history. An Alliance fighter appeared directly in front of them, firing bright green energy beams. Taeho threw the ship into a spinning dive that made everyone grab onto their stations. The enemy shots missed by meters. "There," Soo-Jin pointed at her screen. "The entrance to the control facility. It's on the dark side of the moon, hidden in that crater." The Harmony's Edge dropped toward the lunar surface as more enemy ships converged on their position. The hidden entrance was a cave that looked natural from the outside, but Hyunwoo could see the metal doors deep inside. They had practiced this approach many times in simulation, but never under enemy fire. "Hold on, everyone," Hyunwoo said as he pushed the ship into the cave opening. The walls were so close that the wingtips almost scraped against rock. Behind them, Alliance ships fired into the entrance, but the cave twisted and turned, making it too impossible for them to follow. They landed in a hidden chamber deep inside the moon. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls as the crew gathered their equipment. Everyone knew this was a one-way trip. The moon would be destroyed when the weapon fired, and there was no escape. "Captain," Taeho said quietly, "it has been an honor serving with you. We are not dead yet," Hyunwoo replied, but his voice was sad. "Let's go finish this job." They made their way through corridors carved into solid rock. The control center was at the heart of the moon, where massive engines had been secretly installed over 2 decades. As they walked, Hyunwoo thought about his crew. Soo-Jin had a daughter on Earth who would grow up without her mother. Taeho had been planning to marry his girlfriend next month. Yoonbi had just started writing poetry and would never finish her first book. Alliance soldiers had somehow found another way into the moon base. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the tunnels as enemy troops fought human security forces. Red emergency lights flashed as the automated defense systems activated. "This way," Sujin said, pointing down a side corridor. "I can get us to the control room without going through the main fighting." They moved carefully through the maintenance tunnels. The sound of battle grew louder as more Alliance troops poured into the base. Hyunwoo could hear the distinctive whine of energy weapons and the screams of dying soldiers. An Alliance soldier appeared around a corner ahead of them. The creature had once been human, but now metal plates covered half its face, and its eyes glowed red. It raised a weapon toward Sujin, but Taeho threw himself forward and knocked it down. The two fighters struggled on the floor until Taeho managed to grab the creature's weapon and fire. "Taeho, are you hurt?" Yunbi asked. The engineer looked down at his chest where Alliance weapon fire had burned through his uniform. Blood was spreading across his shirt, but he smiled. "I can make it to the control room, that is all that matters." They reached the main control center to find it under heavy attack. Alliance troops were trying to break through the blast doors, while human technicians worked frantically at the weapon controls. The moon's engines were charging up, but they needed someone to manually guide the targeting system. "Captain," called out Chief Technician Lee. "The automated systems are damaged. We need manual control for the final approach." Sujin ran to the tactical station and began working on the targeting computers. Her fingers flew over the controls as she calculated the trajectory needed to hit the world breaker. "I have target lock, but someone needs to stay here and adjust the course during flight." More Alliance soldiers broke through the outer defenses. The sound of fighting came closer as human guards fell back toward the control room. Yunbi took position at the communications console and began transmitting final targeting data to Earth. "Command." "Sujin," Hyunwoo said. "Take the others and get to the escape pods." "There are no escape pods, Captain. This was always a suicide mission." Alliance troops burst through the blast doors. Sujin drew her sidearm and stood in front of the targeting computer. She fired at the attacking soldiers, but there were too many of them. An energy beam caught her in the chest and she fell to the floor. "Sujin." Hyunwoo screamed, but she was already gone. Taeho dragged himself to the engine controls. Blood loss was making him weak, but he managed to activate the final sequence. "Engines at full power, Captain. We are ready to fire." Alliance soldiers shot Taeho as he worked, but he kept his hands on the controls until the very end. The moon's massive engines roared to life, pushing the satellite out of Earth orbit and toward the enemy flagship. Yunbi fell at her communication station, still trying to transmit data to the human fleet. Enemy fire filled the control room as more Alliance troops poured in. One by one, Hyunwoo's crew died defending the weapon that would save their world. Hyunwoo reached the firing console alone. His crew was gone, but their sacrifice had given him the time he needed. The targeting system showed the world breaker directly ahead. The Alliance flagship was so big it filled the entire screen. But as he prepared to fire, Hyunwoo discovered something that changed everything. The research from Minho and Hee-young had been uploaded to the moon's computer systems. The quantum entanglement network that connected the Alliance fleet worked both ways. If they could reverse the polarity at the exact moment of impact, they could turn the enemy's greatest strength against them. The moon was not just a weapon anymore. It was a delivery system for humanity's final gift to the galaxy. Every piece of human knowledge, every memory of freedom, every dream of a better future had been encoded into the moon's core. General Korthak Vexmorth stood on the bridge of the world breaker watching the moon approach. He had never seen anything like it, a species willing to destroy their own satellite to stop him. It was madness. He was about to learn that sometimes madness was the most dangerous weapon of all. Captain Hyunwoo's finger hovered over the firing button as the moon raced toward the massive world breaker. Through the control room's cracked viewports, he could see the Alliance flagship growing larger by the second. Its hull was covered in the wreckage of 1,000 conquered worlds, all fused together into one terrible weapon of destruction. "For Earth," Hyunwoo whispered and pressed the button. The moon's hidden engines fired with the power of a dying star. The satellite shot forward, like the biggest bullet ever made. Every piece of human technology, every digital memory, every story and song and dream had been encoded into its rocky core. This was not just a weapon. This was humanity's soul flying through space at incredible speed. General Korthak Vexmorth watched from his bridge as the moon approached. His reptilian eyes narrowed with confusion. In all his conquests across the galaxy, he had never seen a species destroy their own satellite to attack him. The humans were either completely insane or more dangerous than he had thought. All ships concentrate fire on that projectile, he ordered. Destroy it before impact. Thousands of Alliance ships turned their weapons toward the approaching moon. Energy beams brighter than stars filled the space between the fleets. But the moon was too big and moving too fast. The weapons that could crack planets barely scratched its surface. The impact was beyond anything anyone had ever seen. The moon struck the world breaker with the force of a small planet. The Alliance flagship's shields collapsed instantly. Its hull cracked open like an egg as the moon drove deep into its core. The explosion that followed lit up the entire solar system. But something else happened in that moment of impact. The quantum virus hidden in the moon's core spread through the Alliance network like wildfire. Every ship in the enemy fleet was connected through subspace entanglement, and now that connection became a pathway for something they had never encountered before. Memory, consciousness, freedom. Throughout the Alliance fleet, strange things began to happen. On a crystal ship near the edge of the formation, a Vextai soldier suddenly stopped fighting. His eyes, which had glowed red for decades, turned back to their natural blue. He remembered his name. He remembered his homeworld before the Alliance came. He remembered being free. The soldier looked around at his fellow crew members and spoke words that had been forbidden for 100 years. We are not Alliance. We are Vextai. We choose our own path. On another ship, a group of transformed humans felt their mechanical implants go silent. The control signals from the Alliance network had been replaced by something else. Memories of laughter and music and children playing in parks. They remembered what it meant to be human. One by one, across the massive fleet, the absorbed species began to wake up. The Altarians remembered their crystal cities. The Cetaceans remembered their deep ocean songs. Thousands of species that had been enslaved and changed by the Alliance suddenly remembered who they really were. The rebellion started small, but spread like wildfire. On ship after ship, Alliance crew members turned on each other as liberated consciousness fought against Deathworld control. The perfect coordination that had made the fleet so powerful became chaos as different species fought to reclaim their identities. General Korthak Vexmorth felt his neural link to the collective network go silent. For the first time in decades, he could not hear the voices of his fleet commanders. The quantum entanglement that connected every Alliance ship had been turned against them. What is happening? He screamed at his bridge crew, but half of them were no longer listening to him. They were transformed beings from a dozen different worlds, and now they remembered their true names. A Cetacean officer, who had been forced to serve the Alliance for 20 years, looked at the general with eyes full of hatred. We remember what you took from us, she said. We remember our families. We remember our freedom. The Worldbreaker began to tear itself apart from the inside. Alliance soldiers fought liberated prisoners in the corridors. The ship's systems failed as different species tried to take control of their sections. What had been the most powerful vessel in the galaxy became a floating battleground. Captain Byung-ho led Earth's surviving ships in a final charge. The human fleet had been reduced to less than 50 vessels, but now they were not fighting alone. Alliance ships across the battlefield were turning on each other as their crews remembered their true loyalties. All ships attack, Byung-ho ordered. Help our new allies break free from Alliance control. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. It was not human against alien anymore. It was free consciousness against forced control. Species that had been enemies for generations found themselves fighting side by side against the Alliance forces that had enslaved them all. A group of Dreknari warriors who had been captured and transformed years ago broke free from their control. Implants. They joined forces with human marines to take control of an Alliance battleship. Together they turned the ship's weapons against other Alliance vessels still under enemy control. The crystal ships of the Altarians began to sing again. Their natural harmonic frequencies had been suppressed by Alliance technology, but now they rang out across the battlefield like a song of freedom. The sound interfered with Alliance communications and helped more ships break free from the network. General Korthak Vexmorth made one last desperate attempt to regain control. He activated the Worldbreaker's emergency systems and tried to send a reset signal through the quantum network. But the network was no longer his to command. It belonged to every species that had ever been enslaved by the Alliance. The signal he sent out was overwritten by something else. Every liberated consciousness in the fleet sent their own message. Not words, but pure emotion. The memory of freedom. The knowledge that no one had the right to control another being's mind. The understanding that every species deserved to choose its own destiny. The Alliance fleet that had seemed unstoppable hours before began to disintegrate. Ships broke formation as their crews fought for control. Some vessels exploded as different factions battled in their engine rooms. Others simply shut down as their crews refused to fight anymore. The Worldbreaker itself was dying. Fires burned in its corridors as the ship tore itself apart. General Korthak Vexmorth stood on his bridge, watching his empire crumble around him. His perfect fleet was destroying itself, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. "This is impossible," he said to the empty bridge. "We are the strong. We are the survivors. We are the Alliance." A new voice answered him. It came not from his crew, but from the ship's communication system. It was the combined voice of every species his people had ever enslaved. "You are nothing," the voice said. "You are the past. We are the future, and we choose to be free." The Worldbreaker exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth. With it died the dream of the Deathworld Alliance. The surviving Alliance ships scattered to the far reaches of space, their crews, no longer united by a single purpose. In the aftermath, as the galaxy began to rebuild, the lesson was clear. The most dangerous ship in the universe was not the one with the biggest weapons. It was the one crewed by beings who remembered what it meant to be free. Earth's sacrifice had saved not just humanity, but every enslaved species in the galaxy. The moon was gone and the tides would never be the same, but in its place was something far more valuable: hope.